with your main Chip Washington. When it comes to information, the main got an arsenal. Bring you up to speed with what you need. He's a local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go. Here we go on this Monday evening. It is August the 5th, 2024, also known as the first day of school for Memphis and Shelby County school children. It is time for Real Talk Memphis, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you along for the ride. I am your humble host. My name is Chip Washington. It is still hot outside, by the way, just in case you hadn't stuck your toe out in the last 15, 20 minutes. It's still hot. We are going to see another very hot day tomorrow with serious heat, excessive heat warning as well tomorrow. But it looks like as we get into the latter parts of the week, temperatures are going to cool down just a bit, maybe even into the upper 80s, less humidity. So yeah, let's get through the first couple of days of this week, deal with this heat as we always do. Of course, watch out for the elderly folks. Check on them. Make sure that they're doing okay. Your pets as well. Don't walk your dogs, your cats, or whatever it is you walk in this kind of heat because it burns their paws. Wait till the sun goes down. Things start to cool down just a bit. As far as you are concerned, drink plenty of fluid. Stay hydrated with water. And, of course, they sell alkaline water, too, which is good because when you sweat a lot, you sweat out a lot of things that you need in your system, and that replaces them, okay? That was just a free medical tip on me. Glad to have you along with us for the ride. We'll be here for the next hour, so we hope that wherever you are, you're in a nice, cool, quiet, relaxed place, and you have us on whatever it is you're listening to us on at this time. Of course, 91.7 on your FM dial, WYXR, which is where we are right now here at Crosstown Concord. That's Concourse. You can also hear us on the WYXR app. We are on the TuneIn app. Just put WYXR in the search, or Real Talk, I don't know which one it is, in the search, and you should be able to pick us up. We are live streaming tonight on Facebook Live, and when the show posts in another day or so, you can catch us a little later on this week on YouTube and as a podcast, and we are a podcast. Don't tell me you didn't know we were a podcast, where we are. You can catch us wherever you get your podcast later on this week. How about that? Sounds good, right? Pretty simple, pretty easy, great. We have a good show for you tonight. I told Lola just a minute ago I forgot my phone, so I don't have any way of measuring time here this evening. So this is going to be a little challenging, but we'll make it through. So they need to have a clock in here, Lola. They need to put a clock on the wall or something. I mean, for us talkers, I know you musical folks, you just do your thing. Okay, you got one over there? Okay, well, so you're going to have to help me with the time tonight. But we have a good show for you tonight. We think we do anyway, and we hope you think so as well. Natalie McKinney is my first guest. She, I would say this is probably the biggest upset of the recent election that was held last Thursday. She beat the school board president, Althea Green, who was up for re-election. No more. Natalie McKinney is the newly elected school board member in District 2. And she'll join us in just a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about why she decided to get into this race and what she is looking forward to as things move forward with this school year. A little bit later on, we are going to be speaking with Dr. Scott Morris. And if you're familiar with the Church Health Center, you're absolutely familiar with Dr. Scott Morris. He is the CEO and founder of that fine medical establishment, which is actually right next to us and right upstairs from us as well. So he'll be dropping by to talk with us a little bit about the Church Health Center and the function, primarily helping folks who are uninsured and on the lower income side of the scale. They work with people because they feel like your health is really the most important component. So I look forward to talking with him. And a little bit later on, we'll be speaking with Meghan Paige. Meghan is a professional counselor. And I saw her last week on one of the news programs talking about how to get your kids realigned, get their heads back in place for a new school year. They've been out for the last couple of months, and of course, no real rigid schedules or anything. Well, now they're back in class. School is in. They need to get back to a regular regimen, and maybe some tips on how parents can do that, navigate not only the first time school-age children, but even the older ones, getting them back in form and fashion as well. So that's a look at our guest list tonight. We hope, as I said, you will stick with us for the entire hour. Sit back, relax, chill, relax. Everything is good. The Olympics rebroadcast doesn't start till 7 o'clock, so you have plenty of time. Let me see here. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I guess I'm not. What we do at this time each and every Monday? We celebrate those of you who are celebrating yourselves, as in your birthday. Many of you had birthdays yesterday or sometime over the weekend or even today. And maybe even this week. Well, this is the time we shout you out and make you feel good about turning another year older. I know some of us don't always embrace that, but if you made another trip around the sun, that's always a good thing. But we can't do that unless I say, hit it, Lola.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Happy birthday is going out to the following. And this is kind of for me, this is a little bit of a rarity in terms of a couple of names on the list. Kia Robinson Jarrett celebrating her birthday today, as is Pam Hubbard. Rita Burrell celebrating today. Happy birthday going out to LaWanda Williams and Kenneth Gillian Sr. Also, happy birthday going out to my cousin, Gary Cunningham, way up there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, celebrating his birthday. And another cousin of mine, Thaddeus Williams II, is celebrating his birthday today. Lola, do you have a birthday today to share? Lola doesn't have a birthday to share, ladies and gentlemen. So no birthdays. Everything is good. So anyway, happy birthday to my cousins and happy birthday to everybody else. And all of you celebrating, I hope this day was filled with fun and laughter. And if the Lord says so, we'll be back here next year to celebrate your next trip around the sun. Thank you, Lola. So, as I said, today is the first day of school in the largest school district in the state of Tennessee. Over 100,000 students went back to school today. And for several hundred of them that attend 12 schools in the district, they had to go home early because the air conditioning wasn't working. 12 schools, no air conditioning on the first day of school. Not exactly the rousing start the new superintendent was hoping for, but hopefully those situations will be rectified sooner rather than later. It's 95 degrees, and then you got that heat index going on, and you got kids and a hot classroom. No, that's not fun. That's not fun. But anyway, we are praying for a good and not even good, a great school year for our kids. We want success on every level this year, as the Dr. Marie Fagan's chapter starts now. So we'll see how all of that goes as the year moves along. We'll try to get her on this show before the school year is over as well. In news and notes, Vice President Kamala Harris is now has enough votes to be the nominee of the Democratic Party going up against former President Donald Trump. She's raised over $300 million. Now what everybody's waiting for is the announcement, the big announcement. She's at the top of the ticket. Who is going to be her vice presidential running mate? She will make that announcement, she said, tomorrow morning via a digital recording, a message. And she and her running mate will be campaigning together for the first time tomorrow evening in Pennsylvania, which if you've been following this, one of the individuals in question is the governor of Pennsylvania. So we'll see how all that breaks out. We'll find out tomorrow, though. There has been a new ouster petition once again filed against Shelby County Clerk Wanda Halbert. Surprise, surprise. The county of Shelby hired an attorney, Robert Myers, to move this thing forward. Once again, she has 20 days now in which to respond after, you remember, the first case against her was dismissed because of the DA not being in this county. She's way off in the eastern part of Tennessee. The judge dismissed the case because she said she had no jurisdiction to even be over this case. But this one obviously is about the same stuff, about the same old story. Wanda has 20 days in which to respond to it. And even in this petition, they're asking for her once again to be suspended until a final hearing is conducted. Now, all I can say in reference to all of this is, with all of the issues that we have in our city and county and all of the things that we have as higher priorities, why are we continually wasting time on this? This seems to be a bit personal to me, as people in your own county want you out. These ouster situations, if I'm not mistaken, are supposed to be for criminal activity, criminal behavior. There's nothing criminal about what she has done. Has she made some mistakes? Surely she has. But none of them rise to the criminal level. So again, we will have to wait and see one more time what Shelby County is going to do in reference to an ouster of Wanda Halbert. So, there was a really bad incident that happened early Friday morning, about 3 o'clock, where a victim had been shot at a location, was driving himself to the hospital, crashed into a Memphis Police Department cruiser with 2 officers inside the car. One of those officers was killed immediately. His name was Demetrius Johnson. He was 34 years old. He had been on the Memphis Police Department for a total of 4 months. Brand new officer was killed in this scenario. His partner was critically injured as well. He's still in the hospital. He's still alive. He's still in the hospital. The victim who had been shot, who crashed into them, was identified today. His name is Rantavius Johnson. He is 22 years of age. We still don't know the circumstances around this. We don't know what happened. In reference to this, the police department is investigating that as well. So just a very, very, very sad situation all the way around. The officer, Demetrius Johnson, apparently left a wife and a 2-year-old baby son. Again, we continue, our prayers go out to all of the members of the Memphis Police Department, all of the family, friends, and colleagues of Officer Johnson. This is a tough one for a lot of folks. And may his memory always be a blessing. That investigation does continue, and we will, of course, keep you posted once we find out what is what in terms of what happened in this particular case. All right, that's a quick look at news and notes. We are going to take our first commercial break, and when we come back, what do you say we get into it? Talk a little bit about this and that and this with yours truly and you on this Monday edition of Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. Don't go away. We have a lot of show. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Sunset Jazz at Court Square is a free, family-friendly jazz concert series hosted by Just Jazzin', located at 62 North Main in downtown Memphis. The series is held annually, every second Sunday of May through October, featuring a lineup of jazz artists showcasing different styles from straight ahead to swing. More information can be found at sunsetjazzmemphis.com.
Located on the second floor of the Crosstown Concourse, the Memphis Listening Lab is a nonprofit collection of music and music history that is open to the public every Tuesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Boasting an eclectic collection of tens of thousands of LPs and 45s, a state-of-the-art sound room, and various vinyl and streaming listening stations, our free library has something for music lovers of all stripes. More information and the complete listing of upcoming events is available at memphislisteninglab.org.
Thanks for tuning in to WYXR 91.7 FM. Chris Rowling here, host of Dip in Your Hip on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. As a listener-supported station, WYXR thrives on your support, not just as listeners, but as active contributors. So, I'm asking you to become a sustaining member today. Head on over to WYXR.org/donate and hit that donate button to keep your favorite WYXR DJs and hosts on the airwaves. Plus, our monthly donors get their own WYXR merch and a ton of other perks. Our way of saying thanks. Visit WYXR.org/donate today, become a monthly donor, and let's help keep the station with the city soul going strong.
WYXR doesn't go to sleep at night. We keep the music moving. Memphis music, that is. When our DJs clock out, our automation clocks in with music right from our community. Produced, performed, and written by Memphians, or in Memphis. Some are hits, and some are rarely heard, but they all tell the story of one of the world's greatest music cities. Visit WYXR.org for playlist and scheduling information. Email submissions@WYXR.org to let us hear your Memphis music. We may just play it.
Support for WYXR comes from March 1 Music, presenting Billy Strings, performing 2 nights in Memphis at FedEx Forum, December 6th and 7th. Tickets on sale now. More information at billystrings.com.
Located on the second floor of the Crosstown Concourse, the Memphis Listening Lab is a nonprofit collection of music and music history that is open to the public every Tuesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Boasting an eclectic collection of tens of thousands of LPs and 45s, a state-of-the-art sound room, and various vinyl and streaming listening stations, our free library has something for music lovers of all stripes. More information and the complete listing of upcoming events is available at memphislisteninglab.org.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
Welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening in the city. Chip with you. Glad to have you along, if you are along with us this evening, wherever you are. We appreciate it. I am, of course, I told, I think I said it earlier, I told Lola I forgot my phone. I walked off, and literally I was letting the charge up, and I walked off and I left it. And that's kind of my lifeline, because, you know, people call and text you, they want to know what's going on. And then if there's something that happens, you know, then you can't. So I was halfway down Sam Cooper coming down here in a bunch of traffic, and I just sort of hollered out, ah! So anyway, but we're going to make it anyway, even without the phone. What did we do before cell phones? That's a good question. What did we do before cell phones? I guess we hollered at each other a lot from down the street. But in any event, I am, you know, we're always prepared around here, and I had a change in the script earlier. One of my guests was unable to make the show tonight, and so I scrambled and I tried to figure out who would be the best person, and I ran across someone who I've admired for a while now, for a long time, for the work that he does in this community. And I reached out, and fortunately, he was available. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show Dr. Scott Morris. If that name sounds familiar, He is the CEO and founder of the Church Health Center, which is right here in the building that I'm sitting in right now, right next to us, right upstairs. And Dr. Morris, it is a real pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate having you.
I'm glad to be here. Anything happens with WYXR, I'm all for it.
There you go. I'm glad I'm at the right station too there for you. I really appreciate that. So I was doing a little background on you today, and you started Church Health back in 1987. If I'm not mistaken, and I thought that first line was really good. He started with it was Dr. Morris and a nurse, and you saw 12 patients on your first day. You come a long way since 1987, and I think at last check you had the scene over. Was it 60,000, 20,000? What the number is? 60,000 people? Is that what it is?
It's hard to put a number on it. The way I think of it, there are 80,000 people in Memphis who depend on Church Health for their health care.
That's a lot of people. And I'm really interested to know what made you decide that this was something in particular that you wanted to do, and more importantly than that, the way you want to do it, because you have a sliding scale for because economics is very important, obviously, in this community, and a lot of people who are uninsured. That seems to be really the crux and the basis of why you do what you do. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just kind of want to find out, what was your philosophy in reference to doing it that way in particular?
Well, so what we do is provide health care for people who work in low-wage jobs who don't have health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So we take care of the people who work to make our lives comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They cook our food, take care of our children, wash our dishes, cut our grass, one day dig your grave. They don't complain. Yet when they get sick, their options are very few. The why we do it, we are a true faith-based organization. Whether you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, I don't care. We are all called to do the same work, care for our bodies as well as our spirits, care for the poor when they're sick. That is what drives Church Health, and it's why we're not a federally funded anything. We're supported by the broader faith community, and we have to raise $27 million a year to keep our doors open. We don't pursue government funding because the government cannot do the work of the church, and neither should we ask it to.
That is amazing in and of itself. You've been doing this since 1987, which means that you have been really dependent on the greater community to be able to support your efforts, and they do it year after year after year after year. What does that tell you about? Does that validate even more that you're doing God's work in this community because people appreciate it, they support you, and they understand the mission?
Yeah, it is about the mission. We all read the same Bible. If you're Christian, we're all having that sense of calling and trying to figure out, how are we going to do this? A third of the New Testament has to do with healing the sick. You want to follow Jesus, you're expected to be involved in a healing ministry. If you're not doing that, you're ignoring a third of the gospel. Do you really want to have to look God in the face at the end of time and have him say to you, did you think I was kidding about that part of it? Mm. So I think people support our work because they understand that this is what we're expected to do in this life, and it ultimately drives us closer to God.
That's very deep what you just said, and it's very true as well. When you look around, though, at the landscape, the medical landscape in particular, we live in Memphis, and of course, poverty is a big issue here. I mean, nobody hides from that. It is what it is. So a lot of people need a lot of help, and you provide as much help and top class medical coverage for folks as you can. But when you look around, Dr. Morris, at some of the bigger conglomerates, the bigger medical companies, the insurance companies, and the prices that people have to pay because they just can't, and many of them can't afford to get good health care because they can't afford to pay it. Does that bother you in some way?
Look, it bothers me that anybody has to be on their own when they get sick and have nowhere else to turn. I think, in America, no matter who you are, you should be able to provide be able to receive the best health care possible. So that's true if you're black, white, brown. It's true if you're doing a job that nobody else is willing to do.
Yeah.
If you're building a house in Germantown and you fall off the roof and break your leg, I think we have an obligation to take care of you.
Yeah, and obviously that is so important. How big is your staff right now?
So we have 250 people on our staff.
250 people on your staff. That is it. That's just amazing. Now you moved here meaning Crosstown Concourse in 2016, if I remember that correctly. Am I correct about that?
2017. We were
I was
the
close.
first business to move in.
You were the first business, yeah.
Yeah, we moved in January of 2017.
So why here?
So we're the anchor tenant at Crosstown.
Right.
We have 150,000 square feet. This all came about because on July 8th, 2011, so just over 13 years ago, Todd Richardson, who at that point was an art historian at the University of Memphis, came to talk to me about the idea that he and his artist friends had of making what had been an abandoned building, Crosstown, been abandoned since 1992, and make it a place for artists to thrive. All he wanted of Church Health was us to be their doctors once they moved in here. But what I said to them in 2011, because we had grown into 13 buildings and become very inefficient, I said, well, what if we move in there with you? So I married one crazy idea with another crazy idea.
Okay.
And then for the next 3.5 years, together we become developers and until Crosstown becomes what it is today.
This is, and I'm not from here, but I've heard a lot about the history of this facility, this building here. It's beautiful now. I mean, you've seen it transform from literally nothing to where it is right now. Does it really? When you walk in here on a daily basis, does it put a smile on your face to see from whence it came to where it is now?
Look, I gave many, many tours of this building when all 3,200 windows were broken. It was surrounded in barbed wire. It had gotten to be, why would gangs write anything else in the building? What more was there to say? Mm-hmm. So when I first walked in here, the atriums that are here now didn't exist. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face.
Wow.
And yes, so it is amazing what $300 million can do to an abandoned building, but it is a beautiful facility. I believe it's what's possible in God's imagination.
As you continue forward, and you just recently had a day of giving, your annual day of giving, which was on the 30th, I believe it was, and I saw a great story, about you and Church Health Center, and again the work that you do. And I think I told you off air, my son is a patient of yours, and it's getting wonderful care. And he too, like a lot of folks, young, trying to make it in this world, and this whole issue of being able to not deny. And I think I'm still so taken by the fact that you don't deny health coverage to people that need health coverage the most, and it has nothing to do with your income. We can work with that. You're like, we can work with you. We can work with that. That concept is very, very thin, I would say, here and maybe even across the country. You don't see that every day. And then people wonder, the question that comes in the back of the mind was, how can they stay open? How can they stay as effective as they stay with this many people, serving this many people each and every day, each and every year by doing that? And your answer to that question would be?
Well, we have 1,000 doctors who volunteer with us. The best doctors in Memphis are willing to see our patients for free. We have a wonderful relationship with the hospitals, especially Baptist and Methodist. As long as the physician will donate his or her time, then we can admit people, and the patient is likely not to get a bill at all. People oftentimes think of both doctors and hospitals as not being charitable, and I can tell you my experience is just the opposite. We're only able, our goals provide the same quality of care you want your mother to receive.
Right.
And I think we deliver on that every day. And we're only able to do it because the medical community of Memphis is willing to step up and do the right thing.
This is, see, now, ladies and gentlemen, if you had not heard this story before, but you are maybe aware of Church Health Center. Maybe you've learned something here in this conversation that we've had. You don't always have to stick your hand out, for a bill. Pay me, pay me, pay me, pay me. Sometimes you have to do God's work. We always talk about doing God's work, but we need to kind of figure out what the definition of God's work truly is, which is what Dr. Morris and his folks are doing on a daily basis. And the prerequisite for doctors wanting to help you do what you do for so many is the fact that they volunteer their services. And I would imagine, because of the number that you said do that, you don't have too many folks saying no to you, do you?
Every doctor I know goes to medical school primarily because they want to help people. And what we've been able to do is find a way where all we ask of the doctor is give me some of your time. Mm-hmm. And as a result, over the last 37 years, there haven't been more than a handful of doctors ever tell us no.
Do you see what you do here in the city of Memphis because I do, as a template, or let me ask it this way. Have there been other medical outlets or facilities around the country that are aware of what you do here and have come to you seeking maybe to want to do the same thing in their states or in their cities around the country? Is this a pilot or a template for other operations doing the work that you do on a daily basis?
So twice a year we have what we call a replication seminar. There are 90 clinics around the country that are open that would tell you they're modeled after Church Health.
Wow.
There are many others that are in the works. There are hundreds of clinics similar to ours. Now, Church Health is far and away the largest. But if the New Testament is true and accurate, which I believe it is, then this is what we're supposed to do in every community. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, this work is able to be replicated because people want to do the right thing.
This makes me think about COVID-19, which was something that none of us expected to happen. It overwhelmed everyone. How were you all, and particularly with the group of people that you deal with on the regular basis, how overwhelming was that for you and your team? Or was it overwhelming because it was overwhelming for everybody else because we were still trying to figure out what it was and everything else? How difficult and or challenging was that for you?
So that really took hold in March of 2020. Mm-hmm. Almost immediately, we realized that this was not going to be an ordinary experience. And so Church Health offered up our chief operating officer to help in the city. She ended up, Jenny Bartlett Prescott. She spent half of her time for that first year helping to organize and coordinate our testing program for the city. Mm-hmm. Here at Crosstown, if you've ever noticed, there's a way to literally drive through the middle of the building. Well, that is also perfectly designed to do drive-through testing. Mm-hmm. And that became our place of doing testing. And then one of our waiting rooms became our vaccine central once that vaccines were available. Overnight, we learned how to do telemedicine. So it was transformative for us as it was for everybody else. And, I think we actually learned some very valuable lessons during COVID that we're continuing to implement. I worked for the Shelby County Health Department. I was hired during that time, right when COVID hit, because they were overwhelmed, and as all of us were overwhelmed. And we worked with you all. We worked with Jenny. We'd be on calls all the time, coordinating testing and trying to figure out this. And that was an extraordinarily challenging and difficult time, even for someone who's practiced medicine for as long as you had. That had to really be. That whole thing just had to be. I don't even know. Even today, I can't even find words to describe how overwhelming. We lost over 1 million people in this country. We lost a few thousand here in Memphis and Shelby County as well. That had to. Was that kind of a life-altering experience for you? I know it was for a lot of other folks out here. Look, I had friends in that first month. We had one of our volunteer doctors die. He had gone on a cruise, and people told him not to go, and he just didn't believe it, and didn't make it a week. So I think we all know people who were impacted terribly by it. We still see patients every day here at Church Health who now have COVID. It hasn't gone away.
Right.
That thankfully, if you've had a vaccine, then you're unlikely to get terribly sick, but people still get sick. It's a real thing, so you can't just ignore it. I assure you I will get my vaccine on an annual basis, it looks like, just to stay up to date. But, diseases are complicated in so many ways. For all of us, focusing on prevention is probably a wiser path.
Yeah.
That's what, being healthy is not about the absence of disease. What we think being healthy is ultimately about three things: having more joy in your life, having more love in your life, and being driven closer to things greater than we are. We would call that God. But if that's what it takes to be healthy, more joy, more love, being driven closer to God, it actually doesn't have a lot to do with the doctor. So when you look at Crosstown and you see all the various things that are here,
yes,
we believe that sort of models the way we should all live. We've created something we call the model for healthy living. Each of these things are equally important. Medical care is one, but only one. But nutrition, your mother told you are what you eat. She was right. Movement, our bodies were made to move. So the Nutrition Center at Crosstown here of Church Health is our way of engaging that. Church Health YMCA, it is 25,000 square feet of church health space. We've contracted with the Y to manage. So again, medical care, nutrition, movement, emotions. We have a behavioral health center here. Family and friends, work, your faith life. These things are all equally important. No one's more important than the other.
I hear you talk, and it really inspires me, even more that there are people like you, that walk this earth, that understand what the true meaning and the mission is of what we're all supposed to do. If you had to, and I'm sure you probably have in the past, but if you had to just summarize all of this, I think you did a great job in summarizing kind of what you do in terms of the overall health of us as individuals. But I mean, where we are, in a city, where we are as a country, so many people are struggling. So many people are suffering unnecessarily and needlessly. What would be your if you had to give an overall arching message in how we as people need to live our lives and be as human beings? What would that message be?
Well, we don't need to be reactionary, and we can't just focus on the past. The future hasn't come, so I don't really know what's going to happen there. But if we could focus on the moment, the here and the now, live in the present, and then do our best to engage joy, love, but finding those ways to be drawn closer to God. That's what I think gets us to where we all want to be, which leads to more joy, more love, and feeling connected to God. It's not actually complicated. It's hard to do, but I don't think the thinking behind it is complicated. You just have to commit yourself to do it and keep your head in the room.
Well, I tell you what, I'm inspired. Both Lola and I have been he's here with us in studio, actually sitting here right across from me here, for those of you who are listening. And we're both looking, and we're just looking at each other, and we're looking at you and just nodding our heads and just really, you don't hear this conversation on a regular basis around here. We hear about everything else on the negative side, but we don't hear about that there is hope, that there is positivity, which is what you exude on a daily basis, that there are people out here who are willing to help for no other reason than God has mandated us to love each other and to help each other and support each other. And you seem to be doing that with extraordinary success here in the Memphis and Shelby County area. Is there, in terms of people who are hearing this and may not have come down here to utilize your services, is there some information you'd like to pass along with that in terms of that contacting and?
So our website's the best way to engage Church Health.
Sure.
We have a walk-in clinic. That's these days primarily how I see patients. The criteria to come to the walk-in clinic is I'm sick today. I don't have health insurance. The cost is $40. It's the same no matter what your problem is. You got a cold, you got a broken bone, you're at death's doorstep. It's obviously a better deal the sicker you are, but for $40, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Again, if your back's been hurting for 5 years, that doesn't constitute sick today.
Right.
want your blood pressure checked, you need a physical exam. That is not sick today.
Right.
But if you have an acute injury, then that is the easiest way to get to see our doctors at Church Health. Beyond that, we charge on a sliding scale according to your income. You do have to give us verification of your income, and we're focused on the uninsured. If you have health insurance, good for you. You don't need us. But sadly, there are many, many people in Memphis and Shelby County who don't have health insurance.
Yes.
But once you're a regular patient of ours, you have access to our dental care, our eye clinic, our behavioral health center, our nutrition center. This is all sort of one-stop shopping here at Crosstown Concourse.
Just amazing, absolutely amazing. And if you're having a bad day and you're trying to figure out your course in life, talk to Dr. Morris here. You'll get straightened out almost immediately. Dr. Scott Morris, the CEO and founder of Church Health Center. Dr. Morris, it was so good to have you with us this evening. It's a pleasure meeting you, and I hope that this may be our first conversation, but I hope down the road it won't be our last. And bless you for everything that you have done for so many, so selflessly in our communities. We really thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Don't forget that WYXR stands for Your Crosstown Radio. So
look at that.
Come to Crosstown.
Putting the plug in too, ladies and gentlemen. I like that. Thank you, Dr. Morris. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to take another break, ladies and gentlemen, and when we come back, we'll continue on this Monday edition of Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. Don't you go away. We still have more to go. We'll be right back. Man, you.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
WYXR Stereo Sessions presented by Menfo continues with Blackout's Dream World. In the next installment of our local album listening series, we return to Memphis Listening Lab on August 14th at 6 p.m. to examine a Memphis rap classic with haunting beats and intense lyricism. Producer-rapper Blackout will be on hand to walk us through every track. This stereo session presented by Menfo is brought to you by Memphis Listening Lab, Crosstown Brewing Company, Independent Bank, and Via Productions.
Hey, I'm Amy, host of Sonosphere on Monday at 4 p.m. And you're listening to WYXR 91.7 FM Memphis. I'm here today to ask you to further your impact with the station with the city's soul by joining the ranks as a WYXR mid-level donor today. Join us in championing a more inclusive and informed world through the transformative power of the community radio. Visit midlevel.wyxr.org to become a mid-level donor at WYXR, where your investment paves the way for a brighter and more connected future. Mid-level donors enjoy exclusive benefits such as on-air acknowledgments, VIP passes to Raised by Soundfest, and the opportunity to step into the role of a guest DJ. More information about mid-level donations can be found at midlevel.wyxr.org.
Country musician Sierra Farrell is bringing her Shoot for the Moon tour to Memphis, Tennessee, where she'll be on stage at the Overton Park Shell on Saturday, August 24th during the Shell Yeah benefit concert series. All proceeds directly support and empower the mission of the Overton Park Shell. More information and tickets can be found at overtonparkshell.org/shellyeah. Country musician Sierra Farrell is bringing her Shoot for the Moon tour to Memphis, Tennessee, where she'll be on stage at the Overton Park Shell on Saturday, August 24th during the Shell Yeah benefit concert series. All proceeds directly support and empower the mission of the Overton Park Shell. More information and tickets can be found at overtonparkshell.org/shellyeah.
Hey, I'm Amy, host of Sonosphere on Monday at 4 p.m. And you're listening to WYXR 91.7 FM Memphis. I'm here today to ask you to further your impact with the station with the city's soul by joining the ranks as a WYXR.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
Welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. Beautiful Monday evening. A little warm outside, but glad to be here and glad to have you with us. And I will say one more time, thank you to Dr. Scott Morris. Boy, that man is really, really, really something. And if you don't know anything about the Church Health Center and you were listening to this broadcast, I hope you learned a lot tonight. They are an amazing group of folks who are doing wonderful work here in Memphis and Shelby County. Now, we said at the top of the show that this is the first day of school here in Memphis and Shelby County for over 100,000 kids in the largest school district in the state of Tennessee. But, kids have been out now for the last couple of months and no routine, no schedule, just kind of doing whatever they do during the summer months. But now it's time to start to tune in. Now it's time to start to get focused and get locked in. We're back in the classroom. We're back at a regular, on a regular routine, on a regular level. And, I saw a story last week, and I thought it was really interesting because we've never really had the conversation. How do parents get their kids ready for another school year? They have to tune all the junk out, and they have to start focusing in on the lessons and the homework and everything else. And I saw a young lady in a story, and she did a really good job of kind of explaining some of the things that parents may want to try to get their children focused in and ready to work for another school year. Her name is Meghan Paige. She's joining me now. She is a professional counselor. And Meghan, it's great to see you. Thank you for coming on Real Talk Memphis tonight. How you doing this evening?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about this.
Absolutely.
It's very important.
Absolutely. It truly, truly is. And I'm really glad that you had some time for us this evening. What are some of the things that parents really need to know in terms of getting our children kind of rezoned back into the academic or education mode after being gone so much? I mean, obviously you had said, one of the things you said in your piece was, it's good to start prepping them a little bit early, before school starts, but just sort of play on that a little bit on the philosophy of how one should try to do that with their children.
Yeah, so it's best to start as early as possible. I would normally say at least 3 weeks out before school. Mm-hmm. Start getting those kids on a nighttime routine. So get them to bed a little early. They may be on video games all night. So let's cut the video games. Let's get them going to bed, and then making sure they wake up early too.
Right.
Because some schools start at 7:15.
That's true.
Making sure they're up by 6 a.m. and ready to get on that bus. So that's the most important thing, is having a great nighttime routine and then a great morning routine as well for them.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. How and you said maybe a couple of weeks before school starts. Once school starts, though, the first day the excitement is okay. You've gone to school, you're in class, you see your old classmates and everything. So now how do we start to really lock in? Now, how do we start to get them in a mode? Some of them may have homework the first day or what have you. I mean, how do we as parents get our kids? Besides the routine of the morning and the evening, which is important, but that in between time is that school time. But how do we get them focused and locked in for another successful year?
Definitely sitting down and talking. So if it's at dinner time or if it's right after school, have a conversation with them. How was your day? How were your classes? What does your schedule look like? What does your workload look like, especially for those in high school? So just start by talking to them and having conversations, and don't let them just get away with, oh, it's good. Let them make them go a little bit deeper so that you can have an understanding of what do you need help with, or, how are the teachers? Are there school counselors in the building? So just making sure you sit down and have conversations, because a lot of times parents are busy too. So they'll just hear, oh, it was a good day, and they'll let it go. No, let's have a little bit more of a conversation from that.
How important, Meghan, is it for families to share a meal together to get after the day is done, for everybody to sit around the table, the dinner table, the kids and the parents as well, and have these kind of conversations? How important is that in what you're talking about?
That's the main piece. So as a therapist, connection is very important. So building that connection with your children is very important. A lot of times parents go right to correcting behaviors. And so discipline first without connecting. And so that connecting piece can, build a gap into the relationship. So connecting, having real conversations with them and making sure they feel heard is very important.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be listened to, you're a therapist, you're a counselor, so you understand that meeting them, meeting these children where they are is a term that I have heard so many times, but it is vitally important that even when you're having a conversation with your children, the first thing, and really for me, the incumbent attitude of a parent is to listen to their children. Listen, stop, don't talk, just let them talk, listen to them. How important is that, Meghan?
It's very important because a lot of times parents have it in their mind, okay, this is what I want to talk about today. Take you out of it for a second. Like give them at least 10 or 15 minutes of just letting them talk about what's going on in their life, what's going on at school or outside of school, or extracurricular activities. So it's very important to just put your MO aside, take a moment, listen to what their needs are, and definitely connecting. I'm going to always go back to that connecting piece. It's very important for those children.
One of the things that we have been hearing about with a lot of our children is a bit of a disconnection in what is happening out here in our streets. They're out there with their friends and the whole 9 yards, and then when they come, it's a different atmosphere. And really, the involvement of these parents with these kids in their lives and things that they're doing is critically important. We talk about that. I hammer that home every single time that I have conversations like this about the parents have to take time to know what these kids are doing. They have to be involved. You have to be nosy. My mother told me when I was young, I didn't have any business. My business was her business. And she wanted me to know that, I'm going to know what's going on with you. We don't seem to see that anymore. It's like kids are living a separate life and parents are doing their thing because they're busy. But you can't be too busy, can you, Meghan, when it comes to your children and knowing what they're going through, what they're dealing with, and how they're functioning on a day-by-day basis?
You can never be too busy. I agree with you. Like your business is my business. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So making sure having conversations, if they're walking out the door, where are you going and who are you going to be with?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't go with a friend without my mom meeting their parents. But a lot of times these days, these kids are going just wherever and parents don't know, what that environment is like. And, in these Memphis streets, a lot of the times these kids want to feel connected to somebody or something.
Yeah.
So that connection needs to come from inside the home and not out in this world.
Boy, you said, see, that's a big deal. That really is a big deal, that connectivity. And I know we were raised in a different generation. I know I was anyway. And it wasn't any of this, hey, you in my business. Well, first of all, after I got up off the ground, after I said that, that's my business. I was told I had no business in that house. Okay, my business, their business was my business. My business was their business. Period. And I really do think that what you said, and hopefully people are listening to this because kids, when they reach a certain age, and I know you know this better than anybody, they think they know more than the parents do. When they get to be those teenage years, you can't tell them anything. They don't want to listen to anything. How do we overcome that? How do we overcome that?
The main part is making sure they trust you. If you don't have a connection from the beginning, then they may not trust you with telling, what they're doing or what they're getting into. So it goes back to building that connection, having those conversations, making sure they feel heard. Even if you disagree, just listen and come up with a game plan together. Collaborate with your children. Don't always just point the finger and tell them to do this or do that. Like, hear them out. They're smart. They're smart kids. So hear them out and see what they have to say and make sure they trust you enough to, be honest with you.
One final thing I want to ask you. When I was coming up, we didn't have access to computers and the cell phones and a lot of the apps and things that kids deal with on a daily basis now. Should there be some ground rules in relation to that, depending on the age of the child as to how much they should use things like that? Because there's a lot of stuff on the internet that we all know is not real positive, especially for young people. What would you say if someone asked you about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you try to sign up for Instagram or Facebook, they ask you for your age for a reason because it says 13 and up.
Mm-hmm.
So at least starting there, and then having like Life 360 on their phone so you can know their location. Or if they have an iPhone, making sure they share their location with you so that you can keep tabs on them. You may not check it all the time, but you definitely need to know where your children are.
Absolutely that. Meghan Paige, ladies and gentlemen, a professional counselor, giving you some tips about how to deal with your kids at the start of another school year. Most importantly, pay attention to them, listen to them, and communicate with them. Meghan, thank you so much for taking some time out to be on the show tonight. Really appreciate you and really appreciate your counsel. And I hope that for all of us, we have a pretty decent school year with our young folks. But thank you for your valuable advice. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You have a good evening. Now, take care. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That about wraps it up. But Lola, turn your mic on. I want to ask you a question. I don't know how much time. How much time do we have? Are we?
We have a little time.
Okay. So Lola is, I think, and I don't say anything just because I think she is a great mother. She has a child. She's in college now, and Addison is her name, and she and her mother are very close. She used to hang out here, at times when she was around, and I just noticed the dynamic between you and your daughter. And one thing I did notice, Lola, seriously, is that you two have an amazing communication with one another. You guys are very open with each other. Yes. And I mean, she's very trusting of you.
She is.
Is that something that you wanted to instill? I'm just curious,
Definitely.
Because I think you're a good mom. I really do.
Thank you. We grew up with our parents kind of like talking at us instead of to us.
Uh-huh.
So I decided to change that narrative. And I'm not her friend. I'm very much a parent. But when I let her know, when I tell you something, it's for a purpose.
Right.
I'm not fussing. I'm not beating you down.
Right.
And that's what a lot of parents tend to do.
Right.
And we have a fantastic relationship. Yeah, she tells me a lot of stuff.
Maybe even stuff you don't want to hear.
Right.
Right.
She tells me a lot of things.
I was going to say now that's another thing too that I have never really quite understood. Parents wanting to say my child is my best friend. And I've always thought that there needs to be a bit of a break between, being a parent and being the disciplinarian.
Yes.
And I don't know how a child can be your friend when you're trying to teach them
We are not
how to grow
friends,
up.
baby. We
Right.
are not friends.
So that was one of the biggest things, right? In being able to do that and establishing that trusting relationship. And like you said, if you tell a child something, because you've been there, it's for their good.
It's for their good.
They're coming up into it now. They're growing. She's in college now. She's a college young lady now, and there are things that she didn't know that she's learning now. And
Correct.
I'm sure that. But I've always admired the closeness of the relationship.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me,
thank
Lola.
you. Thank you.
As we get out of here now, she plays us out. Listen, it's been a great show. We missed a guest, but that's okay. We made up for it tonight. It's been a great conversation, of course, with Dr. Scott Morris and Meghan Paige for being with us and talking about our young people. Listen, I hope that you had a chance to listen. If you didn't have a chance to listen, we are a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So you can, when the show posts, you can check us out wherever you get your podcast. In the meantime and between time, stay out of this heat if you can. Stay as cool as you can. Watch out for your elderly family and friends. Watch out for your pets and all of that stuff. If you like what we do here each and every week on Real Talk Memphis, go out and tell somebody and come back and join us next week. So for Lola, for Bryn, and for yours truly, it's been a great show. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we are out. See you soon.